Okay, hi, this is Mr. Roche. We are working with Pente, the game, and we are trying to make a computer move generator called Ralph. And we're trying to make Ralph, we have a, a flow in the game to get moves over to Ralph so Ralph can evaluate them. And right now he only makes random moves right there. And in class, what we decided to do was we started to try to make some some rules for Ralph so he could play the game better, and we came up with these 5 rules. And I've been thinking about trying to how we were going to like implement this, and I don't know. I'm just kind of working on this, and I guess for homework I want you to work on it as well and come up with like a plan rather than like program. I'll show you where I am. One, I was just going to like sort of implement these rules, but this idea of assessing the board first in some way, looking at the whole board, really is attractive to me. I'm trying to figure out a way, like I like Cyrus's idea of somehow evaluating the board, but at the same time too, I feel like not sure how to get that done without sort of identifying the groups um, of stones that like the opponent has. Okay, so I've been working with this other kind of concept here. I'll pull it up for you. You can see it. Okay, and so what I wanted to do is I wanted to design something. I'm thinking about introducing like a new class. So what it would do is it would track like opponent groups of squares. And maybe there's a way to like kind of add to them and stuff like that, but I haven't really figured that out. But what I think is that when you play the game, okay, and this is the game board, and we have a routine called play game, and when you click on a square, play game gets triggered, and we do a move, and then if it's a computer move turn, we call up Ralph, and we call up his or her computer move generator. Okay. Currently, what we do is we make random moves, and what we're trying to do is try to have the move generator do smarter stuff. So I guess what I was thinking was first, before you decide what to do, you could assess the board and try to locate like opponent groups. Okay. And an opponent group would be a class that would hold an array list of squares that would allow you to track, like, like you could do, like if it's just one square you could actually do it, but you could hold on to 2 squares or 3 squares. You could hold on to whatever it has, and you could also hold on to the square before the group and the square after the group, or like this end, like N1 say up here, and N2. And then I think if you grabbed all of these square groups, then you could run something that would analyze. You look for the square groups that had 4 in them, and you could, act on that, or 3 or 2, something like that. And I think having the square groups might be a good way to. And then you could also look at, like with square groups, you could look and see if there's like an intersection or more 2 in a row, or like there's shared things or neighbors and things like that. And I think this might be a kind of a good thing. So my plan before I actually make the smart moves right now is to be trying to make this class called an opponent group. So I'm not sure if you guys, you might have other ideas, and that's actually okay. Um, but what I wanted to do tonight was sort of get this class established, and then we could try to make it, try to just identify opponent group moves and like sort of look at them and see if this is good. I'm not 100% sure this is the way to go, but I like it, and I feel like it seems like it's a good direction, and so I guess I want to like try it. And another thing too is that if we um, get too far into it and we don't want to use the opponent group, we can just kind of like ditch the class, and then it doesn't have this sort of, we could assess the board in some other way, and not having this class isn't going to make or break us. So anyway, in CS or Java 1, we looked at what an array list was, And if you don't know what it is, it's actually a special class set up by Java that allows you to make lists of any other object. You can't make lists of native types, but you can make lists of objects, and a square is an object. And the great thing about an array list is that it's expandable. Like, you don't have to size it. So like, while our board is fixed at 19, these kind of square things are flexible. So you can make an empty array list and just kind of throw squares on it. And so that would be something I would like to do. That's why I find this attractive. And you can also clear them too, because we're going to have a lot of, every time you move, you're going to have a lot of kind of trashy overhead that you're either going to have to fix or get rid of. And clearing them will allow us to kind of keep our code kind of clean, things like that too. So I sort of like them for those reasons. So let me show you the opponent group that I have right now. And if you want to try making that, that would be great. Otherwise, I would like to see from you guys some other plan that you're going to try to implement, okay? Either in code or on a piece of paper like this. Like, this is a kind of a process diagram. It's not a process flow. This is not really a flow chart, but I guess there's a little bit of a flow chart. But what it does is it shows like sort of the processes in the computer program that we have, and you know, it doesn't show any logic or anything like that, but just sort of shows where things are, and it gives you a sense of what's going on. So if I could, you know, having one of these for your program is a really good thing. But let me show you the code. So this is the way I have it written out so far. This is my opponent group, okay? And what I did was I went to Pente pack here, and I went new class, and I made up a class called opponent group. Okay, like that. And I'm not going to create it, but you guys would finish it. I already have one, right? I don't know what's going on with this. Give me a name problem, but I think because I'm using the same name, it won't let me do it. Anyway, this is my class. Okay, and then the fields inside this, these are like data fields. You know, class data fields for good old class data. What I'm doing is I'm going to make an array list of squares, and this is just a different way to make a list. It's an expandable list, okay? Okay, expandable list. And then what I want to do is, I don't really need, I kind of like this because it's just handy. I can get it from the list itself, but I want to keep track of the group length. And I'm going to give like the opponent group like a ranking. So if it has a high number, I would want to like work with it to try to make a move, right? And then what I also would do is I'd track the like one of this, you know, one side of the square and one side of the other side of the square. So I could get, you know, I could figure out whether it's a threat to me or not, because if there's like if I'm playing, if my opponent is the white stone player and I have black stones and there's two black stones on either end, then this isn't a threat to me. So I could change the ranking and make it really low, right? And if it's like, let's say there's a 3 and both of these are empty, then that's a real problem. And this would get a super high ranking because I'd have to really do something to it to fix the problem, right? So that's sort of what I'm working with right now, okay? And we've sort of been talking about this, and this sort of makes sense. So we'll go with that. Okay, so I need a constructor for it. Okay, so this is my opponent group constructor right now, and it just, all it does is it initiates the, it sets up the array list, okay? And this is how you make an array list here. So I have a group list, which is this array list up here that's been declared, and then I make it here. I haven't put anything on it, so it's an empty like array list. And array lists come with some functions that I can use to like kind of add and pull stuff off, and you know, do things like that. And then I'm so excited about it, I just made a group. Okay, so so then there's a couple of there's methods in here that I want to you know, have and sort of work with, and most of them are just sort of setting things and getting things. Okay, and so I'll just sort of go over them, but that's kind of it right now. So I'm working on this, and then I'm going to try to like tonight I'm going to try to get it to work. Okay, but this is what I got. So what I have is I have something that's going to be able to add a square to a group. So if this is, so what happens is that I would imagine if I'm working on the board, And if I have a square that's like a white, when I find a white stone, a square with a white stone on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the location of that square, okay, or a link to it, to the group list, and the group list will add a square, okay, and like in certain sweeps, and so this link to this thing gets added to our array list, so we can track where the square is. I'm going to add something to the length, and I'm going to add to the group ranking, and I could do different things, like if it's 3, I could add more, stuff like that, which seems good. Okay. Then I have something that allows me to set one of the n squares. So if I figure out that there's an n square, because sometimes they could be null, because if the group starts on an edge, I have to kind of deal with that. And I can set an n square here too as well. Okay. So and so that might actually help. Like if it's on an edge, it might be easier to make a block because they only have to put one stone down, and maybe that gives it like a higher priority. I'm not sure. That kind of thing. Okay. If I need to evaluate it, like Ralph is going to have to look at these things, right? So somebody has to be able to get the group list or do something with the group list. So I have an ability to look at the group list. Okay, this array of squares. I have an ability to get the n squares. Okay, that's what these things are. It allows me to get group length, get group ranking. Okay. And then if I wanted to from Ralph, it seems like if I knew something, like I'm basically going to sort of identify all the groupings and then kind of rank them. And then if I need to do something, like if there's two, like if there's a serious threat at one of them, something's going on that I want to protect against, I could sort of up the ranking of one or lower it or something like that if I wanted to by doing something like this. Okay, so that's what I got going. And my thought is I'm going to try to like get it working and try to get it going on a board. I don't know if my Pente is working enough to give me a board right now because there's problems with Raph. I'm going to proceed anyway, see what it does. I don't know. Maybe it won't come up. But what I can do, actually, I could probably run the other one. But what I want to do is I'm going to run sort of some. I'll just show you what I'm doing, I guess. In Ralph, what I want to do is I'm going to have like these groups. I'm going to keep an array list of opponent groups of 4. I'm going to keep an array list of opponent groups of 3. So I'm going to keep them sort of like this. So if there's 4, then I'm going to put them in like a 4 group. And if there's 3, I'm going to put them in a 3 group. And if it's 2, I'm going to put them in a 2 group. And if I really wanted to, I could put them in a 1 group. I'm not sure if I need to do that, but it's there. And then what I wanted to do is, when I do computer move, I was going to assess the board, okay? And then I would sort of, after assessing the board, I might try to do these things, okay? And I did a little bit of this, but you don't have to do that right now. But in assessing boards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these sort of sweeps. I'm going to do a horizontal sweep to find 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And then I'm going to do like a, I don't have it built yet, but I'm going to have, I'm going to look for groups vertically, right? And then I'm going to look for groups diagonally. And I think if I do those 3, I think I'm pretty good. Like that, okay? So I'm gonna go, up, down, and sideways, and look for groups. And then once I have all my groups done, then I'm going to evaluate them. I'm gonna, I'll have them put here. If they're like a 4, I'll put them up here. And what I would do then is I'd just go through all the 4s, because that would seem like a highest priority group, and see if there's anybody I need to deal with. And then go to the 3s to see if there's like an unguarded 3, that kind of thing. You could add more logic to it, like that. So the whole thing begins and ends with finding these opponent groups. So the thing I got to do right now